There's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
Hello and welcome to Cancelled, a show one review on Apple has described as pure drivel, while another has said it used to be good. I'm Claire Stevens and I'm joined by Jessie Stevens. We do have good reviews also. Oh, we have amazing, overwhelmingly they're amazing, but that one about it used to be good, I'm like, that stings. That hurts. It's like you comparing me to myself and I failed. Yeah, that hurts. And today, Jessie, we're talking about Olivia Wilde. Jessie, this is one of those times where I'm grateful we take a moment to pause on people's names. Because Olivia Wilde's name is not Olivia Wilde. What? Did you know this? No. It's Olivia Jane Cockburn. Okay. Oh, you might be thinking, she married someone with the last name Wilde, or it's a family name. No. She took her surname from the Irish author Oscar Wilde.
I love her.
She started using it in high school to honour the writers in her family. She liked kind of having a ghostwriter's name, having a last name that wasn't hers. So it's like me being Jessie Austen. Exactly. I get that there's cock in Cockburn.
Preliminary thoughts on Cockburn. You know how like Smith is like you were a blacksmith? That's where your family came from, and there's a sense of like, oh, that's what my family did or whatever. Cockburn, do we think there were some burnt cocks?
Oh, yeah.
That there was maybe they did like Chinese burns of cocks in the past, and that's how you end up with that name. I'd love to know where it came from, where it started.
Not something you feel
What did they burn, chickens?
I don't know. Cockburn.
Yeah. Well, I can understand
like
she's ashamed.
Chicken.
Yeah.
I like chicken. I also think Olivia Cockburn doesn't have the same ring to it.
It doesn't.
It's like my name. I'm not going to be an actress.
No.
Claire Stevens is never going to be.
I'm sorry to everyone listening with the last name Stevens. We've discussed it, but you just name a famous one. It's just an ugly, ugly last name.
It is. Anywho, I was personally first introduced to Olivia Wilde as Alex on the OC.
Obviously.
Okay, I'm Alex. You can start right now. If I don't fire you by the end of tonight, then come back tomorrow.
She was a bisexual bar owner who dated
high arches on her eyebrows.
Yes, very pointy. She dated both Marissa and Seth. Jessie, did you get the impression from the OC that bisexual people were here to steal you and your partner?
They were mischievous.
Yeah, mischievous.
And duplicitous, and you couldn't trust them. That's what the OC was trying to say.
Yes.
That bisexual people, you just don't know where they're going to go. Are they going to steal your boyfriend, your girlfriend, both, or you?
Or your mum or dad.
Yes.
Bisexual people, it's not about like taste.
No.
It's about I want to have sex with all of it.
Yes. It was, I think what we can say upon reflection is that it was stigmatising towards bisexual people in that, she came and she was fundamentally dishonest, which is what bisexual people allegedly, according to this show, are, is that they're never being honest because choose one.
Just want on the record, that is not what we think.
That is not what we think. We think that the OC was incredibly backwards in its portrayal of bisexuality.
Correct. She then had a major role in House and movies like Rush and Her before moving from acting to working more behind the scenes. She was the executive producer on award-winning documentaries that covered stories around Ebola and Hurricane Sandy. And she made her directorial debut with the 2019 film Booksmart.
We only have one night left to have studied and partied in high school. Otherwise, we're just gonna be the girls that missed out. We haven't done anything. We haven't broken any rules.
Okay. We've broken a lot of rules. One, we have fake IDs.
Fake college IDs so we can get into their 24-hour library.
Jessie, what did you think?
I didn't love it. I thought it was overrated.
I didn't.
I have been cancelled, ironically, for that opinion. It's one you cannot utter, especially
upsets women.
in the company of women who love film. I said it in front of like a film buff recently thinking it might give me some status. Like, oh, you know, that film everyone thinks is great. I didn't love it. And they just were like, no, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And maybe I don't. I don't claim to know what I'm talking about, but I didn't love it. I just didn't know. Not enough happened.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And it was reviewed really well.
It was. It didn't make an awful lot of money, but it got really good reviews.
It was more of an indie film. It wasn't meant to make
What's
a
it
lot
even
of money.
about?
I
High
would say it's the female version of Superbad.
Was it funny?
Yeah, try it. Yeah. But that's what it was meant to be. Most recently, she directed and played a supporting role in Don't Worry Darling, a film starring Harry Styles and Florence Pugh, which isn't to be mistaken for the far better story, What the Fuck Happened Behind the Scenes of Don't Worry
Yes,
Darling.
That's the new documentary.
Jessie, my structure for today's episode is as follows. Firstly, what did she do to Ted Lasso? Secondly, Don't Worry Darling with the subheadings Shire, Florence and Harry. And finally, a series of ridiculous claims.
Okay.
You'll really like that.
Okay.
What did she do to Ted Lasso?
That was just bad time. You didn't want to break up with Ted Lasso. I mean, I don't know who broke up with who, but that was a shame, given that he was the most beloved character of the last 10 years. And what we do have to remind people is that Jason Sudeikis isn't Ted Lasso. But, I mean, people won't even take any notice of that.
I don't.
He's a football coach.
He is Ted Lasso. Olivia Wilde started dating Sudeikis in 2011. They went on to have 2 children together. Importantly, it's not particularly important, but they weren't married, they were just engaged.
People who are obsessed with this story find that detail really important.
They're like, it wasn't divorce papers he served, it was custody papers because they weren't married. They broke up at the end of 2020. But as we've touched on, there was a problem. Sudeikis plays Ted Lasso in the absurdly popular Ted Lasso.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Ted Lasso, your new coach.
This is important because everyone loves Ted Lasso. In researching for this episode, I hit a wall because I have personally not watched Ted Lasso.
But Mum has.
But Mum has. And the thing is, I haven't watched it because I'm not here for
a good time.
Positivity.
Yes.
I'm here for...
Everyone's like, it'll make you feel really good. And I'm like,
yeah.
Sell it to me. Like,
yeah.
what? Is there a body? I don't see why we're it'll just make you feel good about the world.
Yeah. So I spoke to a source. Her name's Anne Stevens.
Okay.
And I asked her to describe the plot to me.
Oh, no.
I said, what
She's
is
not
it
good.
about this Ted Lasso? What is it? This is what she said.
How long did she speak for, honestly, without taking a breath?
Well, I transcribed it.
Okay.
Ted's wife leaves him. She's going to follow him maybe to the UK. She comes to visit but then announces it is over. He has a great relationship with his son. No screaming and yelling when they separate because Ted loves her. Ted is the ultimate positive thinker. He sees the good in everyone and everything. He doesn't know he has been employed to fail and send the football team broke because that thinking would never enter his head. He wins everyone over and they love him and feel guilty they ever set him up to fail.
That is a very good, like that could be on IMDb or whatever. It's quite a good synopsis.
I mean, she's an English teacher.
Yeah.
And I just think that was really helpful. And that sets up that when Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde's relationship broke up, I think people were like, how dare that woman hurt Ted? He's
gone through
trying
enough.
to make that football team work.
Theory I've just developed about Ted Lasso fans. There are 2 types of people who watch Ted Lasso, people who don't. Is it just me, or does everyone who watched Ted Lasso, are they innately positive thinkers? They're quite happy people who see the glass half full. People who are not like that don't get it.
See, Mum watches Ted Lasso, Dad doesn't.
Exactly. Really sums it up. Holly Wainwright on Mamamia Out Loud loves Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Not me.
No. At award ceremonies via Zoom, Jason Sudeikis was looking dishevelled and wearing hoodies, and he really appeared to not be doing well. That was when Ted Lasso was doing really well.
I need the month. I need, like, what kind of vibe? So is this 2020?
This is the thing. Their relationship ended somewhere in 2020. It isn't confirmed when. And Olivia Wilde says things like, well, when you're in a relationship like that, it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a slow unraveling.
Okay.
And so some sources say that it was over at the end of 2020, but he was visiting the set of Don't Worry Darling and dropping the kids off. And people have been like, well, were they still together? But no, they have shared children.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that he was wearing hoodies.
Yeah,
in early 2020.
and he was looking dishevelled and down. And then you hear that he's broken up with Olivia Wilde and you think the man's struggling.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso is not okay.
No, he's been through enough.
He's not all right. Then a few months later, we learn that Wilde is dating Harry Styles.
Ouch.
Now, Ted Lasso, he tried to stay positive through that. And that's tricky.
That is worse than giving a failing football team to a man. That is like, no. The mother of your children is having sex with the hottest man on the planet.
Try and be positive about that, Ted.
Try and just put a positive spin on that. Well, he can't. That's why he serves papers.
They have a 10-year age gap and people love Harry Styles in a frightening way. So we're going to get to that, how that has kind of fueled the narrative around Olivia Wilde. There have been long-standing rumours that Wilde cheated on Sudeikis with Styles, but there is literally no evidence for that.
Oh, but I like that rumour.
I know, and I do think
it's just a bit of fun.
I do think it's possible that she didn't cheat on Sudeikis with Styles, but he was hurt that she was sleeping with him.
So maybe started some rumours.
Yeah. Then earlier this year, Wilde is speaking to thousands of film industry executives at CinemaCon about her upcoming film. Little known thing, probably haven't heard of it. Don't worry, darling. She gets handed a manila envelope. She makes a joke about it being a script. I have watched this footage multiple times. She is up there in this blue suit speaking. She's clearly rehearsed an entire speech. It's incredibly important. Then somebody comes to the bottom of the stage and she's like, do I take this now?
This is for me, right now? This is very mysterious. I'm going to open it now because it feels like it's timely. Is it a script? Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
And puts it back in and then has to
I don't
continue
think I would have
speaking.
opened it.
I think she thought it was a script.
But even if it was a script, it's not like she could go, hang on a moment while I just read this script for a new television show.
Well, I think when you're on the spot like that, you're in the middle of thousands of people on stage. You're probably not thinking through a decision. You're just acting instinctively.
Yeah.
She continues to be so professional and just continues into the memorized speech. You can tell she's flustered.
All I can think about is the suit. It was a lovely suit.
It was I would buy whatever she was selling.
Yes.
When she is wearing that suit. I just think there's absolutely no excuse for him to have done that. Sorry. I think that is so inappropriate.
I've heard the other side, though. I've heard the other side, which is that you don't choose when someone is served their papers. She is a very, very busy woman who is on and off private jets. That is precisely what I heard. No, I went private jets. That sounds important for our cancelled episode. She is very, very busy on film sets, all of that kind of stuff. And then when papers need to be served, they need to be served.
Totally disagree. She told Variety a few months later, it was my workplace. It shouldn't have been able to happen. There was a huge breach in security, which is really scary. The hurdles you had to jump through to get into that room with several badges plus special COVID tests that had to be taken days in advance, which gave you wristbands that were necessary to gain access to the event. This was something that required forethought. To try to sabotage my work was really vicious, but sadly, it was not something that was entirely surprising to me. I mean, there's a reason I left that relationship.
Well, look, the other thing that has come up from the likes of Holly Wainwright, Ted Lasso fan, is Ted Lasso would never.
Yeah, and that's what I've really come to the conclusion of. Jason Sudeikis isn't Ted Lasso. I think that's really important.
Oh.
They're not one in the same.
Yeah.
Different people. Plays him well. Can I also say Jason Sudeikis credits Olivia Wilde with having the idea for the show. She had the idea of Ted Lasso.
As in the plot?
Like creating the show, because Jason Sudeikis is a producer or creator or whatever.
Yeah.
So when they were together, she was part of creating it.
Okay, interesting.
So I just think that's
Very
it. You think Ted Lasso is Jason Sudeikis. Well, maybe Ted Lasso
is Olivia Wilde.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. How about that? Jess, moving on to Don't Worry, Darling. I'm going to tell this like a Shakespearean tragedy because that's what it is. It's July this year. Yeah. I have personally never cared about a movie that hasn't been released yet, but suddenly I do.
Okay.
Because there appears to be drama afoot.
Not drama afoot.
Olivia Wilde is posting about her new film, Don't Worry, Darling, and she's tagging the star, Florence Pugh. But Pugh isn't liking or commenting or reposting.
Maybe she's busy.
She's not promoting the film or her role at all, despite always doing so for her other projects. When the trailer is released, Pugh doesn't share it.
Oh.
You might think she's gone off Insta.
Yeah.
No, she shares a post about another film she's working on.
Okay.
Yeah. Then in an interview for Harper's Bazaar, Pugh makes a few comments about the way Don't Worry, Darling is being marketed. She says, when it's reduced to your sex scenes or to watch the most famous man in the world go down on someone, it's not why we do it. It's not why I'm in this industry. To that I say, pew, it sells a lot of tickets, sweetie.
It does.
It's Harry Styles going down on someone. I'm watching that movie.
Yeah, it's all a bit of fun.
It is.
Are we taking ourselves a little seriously? Yes, probably because it is our art form, which I appreciate. I also heard that Olivia Wilde pressed to actually have more sex scenes in the trailer. Did you hear this?
Okay.
Because the director doesn't make a trailer. There is a whole team that does that independently.
I'll tell you who does that. Cameron Diaz's character in
The
The Holiday.
Holiday, yes.
She does that, yes.
She does. That is her job. She presses some buttons. I think she does it in her own home.
Yeah.
And then she goes on a break over Christmas.
Yeah.
But she does. She sits there and she makes trailers. So Cameron Diaz would have put together this trailer, but Olivia Wilde was tapping on Cameron Diaz's shoulder and saying,
more sex.
put in more willy. I think that we need a little bit more willy, a little bit more breast perhaps, a little bit more cunnilingus.
How about a rogue labia?
A rogue labia, exactly. This is called feminism. And Cameron Diaz said, not with the classifications.
Oh, gosh,
no,
of course.
we can't be showing this.
She said, I don't have many things to think about in my trailer job. But one of them is the classification, and we can't have
show a labia.
A labia. That's an issue.
Maybe we could show the clitoris. No, we're not showing the clitoris in the
Olivia.
trailer. It's not right.
That can be your own personal version.
Yes.
We also learn that Pugh won't be making any press appearances for the film besides its premiere at Venice Film Festival. Rumours then start circulating that Pugh wasn't happy with Styles and Wilde's relationship. A source told Page 6 back in July, I can tell you for a fact that Flo, just keep that in mind, Flo.
Yeah.
That Flo seeing Olivia and Harry all over each other on set did not go down well. Jason and the kids visited Olivia on set at the beginning a few times, so I think this all made people feel a little uncomfortable. So there's a little bit going down here.
I have some comments.
Okay.
How long have men been having sex with people on set? How long have men, male directors in particular, been getting it on with the lead actress and we don't hear a beep?
We don't.
And what I'm hearing here is that Olivia Wilde is getting it. That's what we used to say. Our friends, we would look at someone and we go, she getting it.
Yeah.
And she is. She getting it from Harry Styles. And to that, I give her a little bit of an applause because that sounds like a fun time.
It does sound like a fun time.
And I think that not from Florence, but I think from the rest of the world, I think we're a little bit jealous because we'd like to be getting it from Harry. And I wonder if that is informing people's feelings.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, we don't have sex on set when action has been called.
When action has been called, no. We don't. So say we've set up a scene.
Yeah.
We go, Florence, in this scene you have learnt your script, presumably.
Oh, you put your pants on at that stage.
Yeah. Harry Styles, you do your bit.
Yeah.
We don't then call action and then proceed to go, do. I'm doing a sexy dance, entering the scene in lingerie and then have sex with Harry. Inappropriate.
No, because it's not for the film.
They can have sex in their own time.
Yeah.
I actually think that's okay. But everyone shut up.
Oh.
Because Shia LaBeouf has entered the chat. Why, you ask? He's not in the film. Well, he was originally meant to play Harry Styles' part.
Shia LaBeouf of Holes fame.
My name is Stanley Yelnats. All my life I seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. My grandpa says it's because of this 150-year-old curse.
You and your family will be cursed for always and eternity.
Yes, we'll talk about Holes.
Okay, good.
In 2020, just as the film is starting to get off the ground, Shia LaBeouf is accused by his former partner, singer-songwriter FKA Twigs, of choking her, threatening to crash a car she was riding in, and deliberately giving her a sexually transmitted disease. She also claims he shot stray dogs to get into character for a film.
That's one of the worst things.
The man is troubled.
Yeah.
In a statement to the New York Times, LaBeouf said, I'm not in any position to tell anyone how my behaviour made them feel. I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression.
I'll tell you how it made the dogs feel.
Yeah.
Dead.
Only rationalisations. I've been abusive to myself and everyone around me for years. This is my favourite thing when a man's like, oh, I hurt people. I hurt myself. No, you choked someone and you shot some dogs.
Exactly.
Okay? Let's think about them a bit more.
Yeah. And it's like, do you know how much it hurt me to shoot that dog?
Okay.
Okay, well, the dog doesn't get to live with any kind of hurt.
No.
Dog's in a ditch.
I have a history of hurting the people closest to me.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed of that history and I'm sorry to those I hurt. There is nothing else I can really say. What I'm hearing here, not really an apology.
No, it's just I'm hurt.
I'm hurt.
In fact, I deserve an apology from everyone.
for the pain I've inflicted upon myself. And the thing here is he doesn't deny anything. So while these claims are going to court early next year, I think we can say he did some dodgy stuff. Yeah, we can say that. On the record, yeah. On the record. He's been troubled for a long time and has all sorts of allegations against him, not just these ones.
Can we talk about holes now?
Just a second. Okay. Wilde says in a press interview about Don't Worry Darling that LaBeouf was fired due to his combative energy. She says...
He does have quite combative energy. I know what she means.
We were talking last week about
a man who looks like he'll kick you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Shia has the same energy. He'd shank ya.
He'd shank ya. Walking down the street, he'd shank ya. Having a nice chat, he kicks you in the shin.
Yeah.
Hey,
Come
Shia.
on.
Come on, why'd we do that?
Yeah.
I don't know, I have combative energy.
Olivia Wilde says, I believe that creating a safe, trusting environment is the best way to get people to do their best work. And she says her responsibility is to the production and to the cast to protect them. That's her job.
Okay.
So that's what she says about Shia not being on Don't Worry Darling. But the man releases receipts. He may have court battles to fight and a newborn baby, but this is what he invests his time in.
So petty.
LaBeouf declines to comment for a story running on Variety.
Oh, he's
above that.
Yeah.
Instead, he forwards them emails he allegedly sent Olivia Wilde.
Are these the emails where he writes, speaking of Shakespearean play, as though he is some kind of Shakespearean hero?
Yeah, because he's done some Alcoholics Anonymous thing, so he's become quite spiritual. He says, what inspired this email today is your latest Variety story. I'm greatly honoured by your words on my work, thank you. That felt good to read. Okay. I'm a little confused about the narrative that I was fired, however. You and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because your actors and I couldn't find time to rehearse. I've included, as a reminder, the screenshots of our text exchange on that day.
Just as a reminder.
Firing me never took place, Olivia. And while I fully understand the attractiveness of pushing that story because of the social currency that brings, it is not the truth. He shares screenshots of texts as well as a video he says Wilde sent him in 2020 after he had indicated that he wanted to leave. In the video, Wilde's in the car. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not ready to give up on this yet, and I too am heartbroken, and I want to figure this out.
You can't film yourself while driving.
And she hasn't been cancelled enough for that.
Yeah.
I've also got some other remarks on that. If I am Olivia Wilde, previous bisexual villain on the OC, Booksmart director, and about to do this movie and Harry Styles' current or about to be girlfriend, I know I've got to live my life. Am I sending incriminating videos of myself to people? It's one thing to have a phone call.
No, not to people. To Shia LaBeouf.
The most untrustworthy person in the car. You're sending it in the car. And I just wonder, like, I can understand having a phone call, even a voice note, text messages, absolutely. And, of course, they're all receipts that could be drawn
Whenever
upon.
You're about to do something a bit dodgy, do a phone call because nobody's transcribing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. Do I need to teach these people a thing or two?
That's the thing. Did she say some things in that video that she shouldn't have? Absolutely. Have I said some things in the last 24 hours I shouldn't have? Absolutely. One of the things I said that I shouldn't have, I realised I was being filmed. And I said, who gets the raw footage of this? Because I said something to make someone feel better.
Okay.
I threw someone else under the bus.
When was that?
This was yesterday.
Was it me that you threw under the bus?
No, it was someone else. And it was just, I didn't even believe it. I was just trying to make everyone feel better.
Okay.
And to me, that makes sense. I can sleep at night.
Yeah.
It wasn't kind. It wasn't fair. And if that person got it, they would probably be hurt. And so I understand Olivia's position. But for her to set up that camera in the car, is she driving?
I think she's driving.
She's driving. And she's just been horse riding. She's very sweaty. Who goes horse riding? Anyway.
It's fair. That's like her chosen sport.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to film a video where you're going to say a few inappropriate things, I just think it's an interesting receipt to hand Shia LaBeouf is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think we can all agree on that. In that video, she says she's not ready to give up on this yet. She alludes to tension between LaBeouf and Pugh.
You know, I think this might be a bit of a wake-up call for Miss Flo.
Let's just pause on that. She's talking about Florence. There's no ambiguity there.
Yeah, there's no ambiguity. It also sounds like a period, which is a real shame. But calling her Miss Flo is very patronising. I just wouldn't want to be her saying,
Miss
Flo.
Claire.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it's just a little bit rude. It's not how.
She says,
and I want to know if you're open to giving this a shot. with me, with us, if she really commits, if she really puts her mind and heart into it at this point, and if you guys can make peace, and I respect your point of view, I respect hers, but if you guys can do it, what do you think?
You've done some dodgy shit. She's upset by it. I mean, you're both equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying. So she's asking, is there hope? Now, is there context missing to this video?
Absolutely.
Yes. Do we not really understand a lot of what the video is talking about? Of course. But here's what I think happened.
I just have another comment. If I was Olivia and I knew I'd sent that video, and it wasn't that long ago, it was, but it's also like I would probably remember if I sent a video of myself to Shia LaBeouf. I probably wouldn't then say in an interview that I'd fired him if I knew that video existed. That's where she went wrong.
I think she trusted Shia LaBeouf.
Why? Claire,
in a strange way.
What, you wouldn't though. You wouldn't.
She went, the man has enough to deal with.
No,
he's not going to.
No,
not,
you know what he has? Nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose.
And all the time. All the time. This is what I think happened. Olivia Wilde is a feminist. I believe she is a feminist.
Yeah.
She is here for women being able to do things in film that historically they haven't been able to do. But she also wants to make a good movie.
Yeah.
And she thinks Shia LaBeouf is a talented actor.
She's willing to put aside
her values. And you
shit.
know what? Have you seen Holes? He's great. He's a talented man.
And so for that, we say thank you, Shia. But you've done some bad shit. And releasing the receipts, it was a hurty thing to do to Olivia.
It was. And the man is a complete mess, but he's good on screen, and that's the problem. And that's often the problem in life.
The problem is as well, I'm going to put it out there, it appears that Shia is the one telling the truth. What do you do as a feminist when Olivia Wilde, who is something like less than 8% of directors in the US are female, Olivia Wilde, over here we have a man who was accused of really choking a woman and he's like, yeah, it was a really hard time for me. I know who I want to believe. But Shia has a receipt.
No, my argument here is they're both telling the truth. They're both telling the truth because I listened to this great podcast that said exactly this. Nobody is ever honest to each other's faces, especially in a workplace.
Yeah.
It was in Olivia Wilde's best interests to make Shia think he quit.
Yeah.
But he was fired because he is a violent man. But you don't tell a violent, angry man that he's fired.
You just send him a video full of ammunition that he can later release. Yeah.
Yeah, I think both their narratives are true at the same time.
Okay.
Now we need to talk about Venice.
Yeah, we do.
It's awkward because now there are all these rumours swirling about this cast. At the time of the Venice Film Festival, I need this on the record. The Shia LaBeouf thing is unresolved.
Yeah.
Literally nobody in this cast can look at each other or touch each other because otherwise the universe will collapse into itself.
I think Chris Pine can maybe touch and look at each other, but he doesn't want to.
No, he does not want to be there.
No.
At the press conference for the film, a reporter asks Wilde, can you just clear the air and address if there's been a falling out with Pugh and if so, why? Because it's something that people are discussing. I'd like to formally thank that reporter for trying to pursue the gossip.
For doing God's work at the festival.
That should be on their tombstone.
Yeah.
Florence is a force, and we're really thrilled we'll get to celebrate her work tonight. I can't say enough how honored I am to have her as our lead. She's amazing in the film. And as for all the endless tabloid gossip and all the noise out there, I mean, the internet feeds itself. I don't feel the need to contribute. I think it's sufficiently well-nourished.
She ain't buying into it, which I have to say I respect.
I heard it said that she was the only one still trying.
Yeah.
At that festival, it's like Chris Pine went into another space. Yes. He teleported into another film he was making. Harry Styles was like,
I'm in a movie. It's a real movie.
You know, my favorite thing about the movie is like it feels like a movie. It feels like a real go to the theater film movie that you kind of the reason why you go.
And I heard someone's analysis and they were like, I think he was really tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm a bit tired.
He's touring and his girlfriend is hated by the whole world. It's incredibly complicated. The man is tired.
Yeah, but we can say something better than I made a movie at a premiere.
Yeah.
Like, just have a line.
Yeah, he didn't have a line. The next question asks Wilde about the controversy surrounding LaBeouf, and that's shut down by the moderator. So we've gone, we're not talking about the violent man at the premiere. He's not in the movie.
I also want it on the record that I don't think either of us are sure that his last name is pronounced LaBeouf.
Oh, no. I've said this on live radio in the last few weeks, and I went, I'm committing to LaBeouf.
And you know what, doesn't matter.
Is it LaBeouf?
I think it might be.
I pronounce it
LaBeouf, maybe. I don't know. We refuse to look it up.
Pugh eventually arrives on the red carpet. If looks could speak, she's saying, F all of you, I'm late because I didn't want to be here.
And I think she had an Aperol with her grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over on Instagram, her stylist uploads a series of photos captioned Miss Flo, which is orcs.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And what people have commented on is that at this premiere, there was no cohesiveness between the outfits. And that's important.
Because I hadn't discussed it. Yeah.
No one had, usually it's somewhat a stylist might say, what are we doing? Are we doing black tie? Are we doing cocktail?
So they actually weren't the same dress code.
No. So Olivia Wilde is in this full-length yellow, which again, do you want to stand out at this moment in your life? Sure. And Florence Pugh is in kind of a mini dress.
A more cocktail.
Yeah.
So you know what she did? She turned up and she said, Olivia, you're overdressed. And she didn't say it with her words. She said it with her frock. And there's nothing worse. I think that we can all agree that if we went to an event, you'd prefer to be underdressed than overdressed.
Yes.
So what you do is you dress a little bit less than Olivia.
Yeah.
Oh, how embarrassing. You look like you tried too hard.
I reckon she knew what Olivia was going to wear.
Yeah.
At Venice, some other stuff goes down. It's a shit show. Harry Styles doesn't spit on Chris Pine, but it looks like he does.
Yes.
Everyone's standing and sitting arrangements are analysed, and when Florence Pugh gets a standing ovation, she doesn't even look at Wilde.
And she leaves before – there's a thing about how long the applause goes for at Venice, like the standing ovation, and she left in the middle of the standing ovation, so they all had to stop. Boss move.
But most importantly, the reviews come in. Jessie?
Not a good movie.
The film isn't great. These are some of the reviews. With the exception of Pine, the performances are undistinguished. Pugh seems oddly disengaged from Alice. She doesn't own the part. And Styles' work is often tinged with hysteria. That makes me want to see it.
That Florence out of the corner of her eye is seeing a humping Olivia.
Yeah.
She's thrusting. Yeah. She's going, I can't hear Harry. Now, look, that's a sexist thing to say. But I said it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Florence was distracted.
Yeah.
The more the film goes on, the less interesting and the more predictable and unoriginal it becomes.
Okay, that's not what you want from a film.
While Don't Worry, Darling isn't that bad, it's also not very good. It takes the film a good 90 minutes to reveal where it's all going, by which point viewers have either worked it out for themselves or lost interest, possibly both.
Apparently it was meant to be like a Jordan Peele-esque Get Out kind of film.
It sounds like the setup is great and the payoff isn't good enough.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. People who come up with a really great premise.
And that's hard. You can't pull it off.
Yeah, but sometimes I think people come up with a great premise and they're like, 90% of the work's done. It's like, no, you still got to make the film.
Yeah.
And they've made the film, but they haven't
solved that trickiest bit. You needed a Jane Harper.
Yeah,
you needed to go, I've got this premise.
I need Jane Harper to give it a 1-2 punch.
Yeah. But the story's not over, Jess.
Oh.
After the film festival, there's a Vanity Fair article that interviews Wilde but also pulls together a bunch of sources to really get to the bottom of this chaos. A source says the truth about the situation between Wilde and LaBeouf is a couple of shades of grey. As I said, the actor was apparently unhappy with the limited rehearsal time that Pugh had available, and Pugh was uncomfortable with his intensity. I like that. It's
just so true. And then he says, I can't with the rehearsal time. And you're like, I'm so sorry to see you go. And they're both like,
thank God.
Yeah.
The source explains that LaBeouf gave Wilde an ultimatum to choose him or Pugh. It was in Wilde's interest to make LaBeouf think he quit the project to spare his ego rather than make it obvious that he was fired.
This is a man who shoots dogs. I mean, we're just self-protection.
We need him off the set. Wilde said in that profile that her responsibility was towards Florence Pugh, and again she talked about LaBeouf being quite intense. She also addressed other rumours about the film, including that she was distracted from directing because of her new relationship with Harry Styles. She says that wasn't true. And she points out that there's some irony that this is a female-directed film.
Yeah.
And we're talking about all of this gossip.
It's extremely sexist. And there's also an element of, if I was having sexual intercourse with Harry Styles, I'd have been distracted.
Yeah.
I think that it's a lot of us thinking about ourselves in that position and going, oh, how would you get anything else done? How would you shower?
But this,
how would you make it to the doctor? You'd just be going, let me lick your face.
Yeah.
I mean, what an exciting time.
It really is. We should be more happy for her. It's incredibly exciting. So the film isn't very good. And that adds a few layers of complexity.
Yeah.
But I would just like it on the record, I will always defend a woman's right to make an average film.
Yeah, because as we've said before, Claire,
Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill by Adam Sandler. He's been making average films for decades.
Yes. Jessie, moving on to ridiculous claims. Because Olivia Wilde is dating Harry Styles, the internet has combed through everything she has ever done to prove she's a bad person.
Yeah, public enemy number one.
So we're going to play a game.
Okay.
I'm going to read you something and you're going to have to guess what's wrong with it.
So am I a Harry Styles fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
In an old interview, Wilde talks about her moving from acting to directing. This is what she says. I almost feel like someone who has come out of the closet. There's this feeling of honesty about what I really want to do, and it's a level of comfort from being true to yourself that I haven't felt in a long time. Jessie, how are you offended?
I'm offended in the same way that I'm offended by her character in the OC. I'm seeing a lot of duplicity. I'm seeing some bisexual confusion, as previously stated. And you've offended all queer people.
Yeah.
Because you have likened yourself to that. I think Harry can do better, for example, me. So that's my conclusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a clunky analogy. And look, me and you talk about this a lot because you do some live TV and we always say,
you never make an analogy.
Because
Don't
it's
do it.
never quite like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's never quite like that,
You
is
go,
it?
oh, you know, the door, it's kind of like a window. Well, no, you've upset windows because they're not like a door. They're their own thing.
Yeah. And people are always going to be upset. Never make an analogy.
No.
That's my advice. A tweet from 2013. Olivia Wilde writes, what are my chances of ending up on a sex offender list if I'm watching kids ice skate while slowly eating this delicious doughy pretzel? Jessie, please guess the crime.
She's a pedophile. Which confirms what we all already thought, which is that Harry Styles should be dating someone his own age, such as myself, a person Harry's own age who he has never met. She is predatory and she should go to prison because then Harry can't sleep with her and he may sleep with me.
It is that she's joking about being a predator.
Yeah.
People don't like that. That's not funny. That's not funny. How about this one from 2011? She said, oh, it's the 11th of the 11th, 2011. Well, that explains everything. I relinquish all responsibility for my actions now. Hide your children.
Okay, so again, she's coming for Harry and I'm feeling very protective. I've known Harry for longer than Olivia has known Harry. Have I ever met him? No. But I know everything about him. I'm feeling very, very protective. Olivia, get your dirty mitts off.
Yeah, okay. It's the predator theme. It's the predator theme. We go, no, don't joke about that.
No.
It's not funny. It's offensive.
To me, a Harry Styles fan.
Now, when Jason Sudeikis served Olivia Wilde with custody papers, one man tweeted about how she deserved it for thinking he was going to rob her on the train.
Okay.
When he didn't even know who she was. So this man tweets, he retweets a story about Olivia Wilde being served.
Yeah.
And he says, that's what her ass get for thinking I was going to rob her on the train and I didn't even know who the fuck she was. Then somebody's like, wait, what? He's like, LMAO, I was on the train and my friend knew who she was and they didn't want to ask her if it was really her. I walked over to ask and she turned her ring inside her hand like I was about to effing rob her. I didn't even know who she was, lol. A few things. One, don't approach a woman on a train aggressively and then be mad. Then be mad that she thinks
why do my friends know you?
that you're going to rob her. And secondly, you don't need to know someone to rob them. He's like, I didn't even know who she was. Yeah, a lot of robbers.
We heard this story the other week of one of our mates walking down the street and someone tried to rob him and they looked at each other and then the robber looked at him and said, oh, you're in the year below me at school. And we thought, I don't know a lot about robbing. We have previously discussed it's the ugliest crime. But I wouldn't probably admit what school I went to.
No, it's the connection you don't need.
You know what we don't do while we're robbing? Make connections. Make social connections. Oh, you're in the year below me at school. Yeah, remember me? I used to live on Blast Street. Give me your money. And apparently It was awkward after. It was an awkward beat.
Yeah.
Of just like, we'll
Are you
just,
still robbing me?
Yeah, we'll go our separate ways.
No.
Actually, I'll just rob the next person.
I'll get the bus. But then everybody was like, yeah, Olivia Wilde thought that this man was going to rob her and it's racial profiling because...
Really? It sounds like he got up really close to her on the train.
Because he's a black man. However...
Do we have any... I mean, he's a man on Twitter. Do we have any proof he's a black man?
So people are like, he's a black man. His Twitter photo is a photo of a black man. Jesse, his Twitter photo is a photo of Stanley from the Office.
Did I stutter?
So I'm like,
I don't think Stanley from The Office was the guy on the train.
And you have no confirmation that he's actually a black man. It's just his avatar.
Fact, you're being racist. I love that realization when people are like, you're being racist. It's like, I'm not the one that assumed he was black.
Yeah.
You did.
So anyway,
Stanley.
She was scared of being robbed and that's a crime.
All right, yeah.
Now, Olivia Wilde said Florence Pugh's look in Don't Worry Darling was inspired by Bridget Bardot. But Jessie, there's a problem. What do you see there?
I see. Okay. I didn't know Bridget Bardot was problematic. I see two headlines. Bridget Bardot slams Me Too movement as hypocritical, ridiculous, and Bridget Bardot is handed her 6th fine for inciting racial hatred. The second actually worries me more.
Yeah, that's a lot of fines. You'd think you'd stop after the first one. So what it is that Bridget Bardot is problematic.
Yes. And by extension, Olivia Wilde is a racist.
Yeah, and you're
confirmed
not...
by the time that she profiled Stanley on the train.
But apparently you're not to do a woman's hair in a way that's inspired by a woman who has also done naughty things. I find that a stretch.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cleopatra did some pretty questionable things, but people are quite inspired by her.
And it's like, how many movies are made about terrible men?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I want to do your hair like Bridget Bardot. No, that's offensive. Bridget Bardot isn't perfect.
Oh well, I guess I'll do your hair like the Virgin Mary.
In an interview, Olivia said, she was talking about the 1950s because that's when Don't Worry Darling is set. And she said the 1950s get this rap as a very controlled conservative era when in fact it was incredibly debaucherous. My grandparents on my mother's side loved to party.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that, Jessie? Because there's something wrong with that.
I'll tell you what's wrong with it is that it's nuanced. Okay. It's suggesting that two things can be true. And that's upsetting to everyone who doesn't believe that.
Well, it's pretty short-sighted for her to say that the 1950s were a good time for her family because it wasn't a good time for everyone, Jessie.
Oh, yeah,
so it's just really unfair for her to say that.
This is pre-civil rights movement. Oh, now we've got 3 strikes.
Yeah.
In terms of being a racist.
Yeah.
I understand.
So she's definitely going through a phase where everything she says is going to be interpreted as
wrong.
As fundamentally wrong because she's going out with Harry Styles. And because there's some controversy around a movie. Jessie, it's time for charges and sentences.
My charge, and I think we can all agree on this, my charge is that she'd be getting it from Harry Styles.
Yes.
Before I go on to my sentence, do we know if she's still getting it?
Yes, she is.
I was convinced they were broken up.
No, there were rumours at the Venice Film Festival that they weren't together because they weren't really looking at each other or touching each other.
Hands.
That was strategic. They're still together. They were holding hands like last week.
Okay. And to be clear, I don't really have a problem with her getting it.
No.
But that is her charge.
Okay.
I don't make the rules. Her sentence, I thought about this and I thought, well, her obvious sentence would be to stop getting it. But then I thought, oh, that's quite anti-feminist. I want her to keep getting it.
Yeah, she should be able to keep getting it.
Yeah. So I was like, no, that can't be it. And then I realised that she has already lived out her sentence, not unlike the film Double Jeopardy.
Okay.
With Ashley Judd.
We should bring that up more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great legal concept.
Yes. If they've already lived out their sentence, I can't give them another sentence.
So what was her sentence being hated by everyone?
Claire, it was a Venice Film Festival.
Oh, it was horrible.
Imagine being at work and being the only one still trying.
Oh, God,
She was made to look overdressed by Florence. She was made to look too keen by everyone else who wouldn't say anything. I think she did try and give Harry some lines and he just kept saying, it's a movie. Yeah. And that made her look silly.
Yeah.
So I think Venice Film Festival was as bad as things are going to get for her. That was her sentence for all her crimes. She is forgiven.
Okay, beautiful. My charge is this. I charge Olivia Wilde with 1 count of being a woman. Because that is her crime in the public eye.
Confirmed.
Her sentence? Nothing.
Oh.
She has done nothing wrong. And the deeper I went on this and the more I researched it, the angrier I became that this woman has somehow become the villain in a story that involves Shia LaBeouf. Like, I'm so mad.
I agree.
And speaking of that, I would like to charge Shia LaBeouf with actual...
It's the people we cancel along the way.
It's the people we cancel along the way. And you might say...
Why didn't we do an episode
Why didn't we do an episode of that?
Because it's not funny.
Because it's not funny.
Choking someone and shooting
dogs
a dog ain't funny.
Ain't funny. It's too serious. And also, we got to leave things up to the courts.
Yeah.
And that is going to court next year.
Yeah.
And I really hope that man spends just a little bit of time in prison. And maybe quite a bit of time. Because he did horrible
naughty things.
I remember looking at the whole Shia LaBeouf situation where he's saying all this stuff about Olivia Wilde and they're in this huge fight. And I'm like, even if Olivia Wilde did placate him and make him feel like he didn't get fired, I'm like, this man is violent.
He's naughty.
He's incredibly naughty.
I also think that it is ironic that the person at the centre of all of this really is Harry Styles. He's the one she was sleeping with, that Florence Pugh was starring alongside. He's completely unscathed.
No.
He said so much dumb things at the premiere.
He maybe spat on Chris Pine. He didn't. He didn't. But if that was a woman, that would have been run with.
Yes, exactly right. But it was all a bit funny. He made a joke about it a few days later. But instead, Olivia, villain.
Olivia, villain. And if you don't believe Olivia's a villain, people then believe Florence is a villain. And I just think this is so sad that it is a woman who is making strides in film. Like, I'm not that sycophantic person who drinks the Kool-Aid of people like Olivia Wilde. But there's a lot to be said for what she is doing for women in film. She said when she was 35 and she was working on Booksmart, and she said, this is the first job I've ever had that isn't contingent on how I look.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I do think it is incredibly disturbing that as soon as you have a woman in this kind of role, we all want to tear her down.
Yeah. So a woman is a director of one of the most high-profile films, and it's all become about who she's sleeping with. And that, to me, is extremely sexist.
And I hope that she gets chances to make more and more and more movies.
Good and bad.
Good and bad.
Jack and Jill, the remake.
Yeah. And she can make it better.
Only
Adam
slightly.
Sandler isn't involved.
Only slightly. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Cancelled. This podcast was produced by Tia Usich and Talissa Bazaz. We'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.